Right back here, the Seth Williams Show, Chris Aiken, and joined right now by our guest, Giancarlo Floridia. Is that correct, sir?
Hey, I just got out of the shower, so my mohawk is like really wet. So if I look like a wet Italian dog, it is what it is. And I'm talking to George Lynch at the same time because we're building some customs for me. So
Very
so,
nice.
See, that's pretty badass right there, man.
yeah, let me see. I'll show you guys. We're going over next. So if George calls, we might have to hear some of the bodies. So if George calls, we'll get him on here.
Yeah, there we go.
It's pretty awesome.
Very
How you
Well,
guys
welcome,
doing?
man. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Thank you. I appreciate it. I've been wanting to do an interview with Chris.
Yes, I know you have. You guys have-
We had a little, not an issue, just, I wanted
A disagreement.
it was a disagreement. He didn't like me, and now he likes me.
I never said. No, wait a minute,
you
dude.
guys had a little bit of an issue, and now
let's
you
be-
guys got to
No,
explain.
It wasn't that. It's just, I think he heard my band Face Edge for the first time. I was like, what is this? It was like a cross
Yeah.
between prog, hair metal, me singing like, super high and, and there was, it's all good.
It was look, and I will
It's
say
all right.
this. No.
I'll
But
get to it.
I'll man up and answer to it. On the CMS, I am definitely very vocal, and
Yeah,
I
you
am
are.
very first take. Whatever I hear, boom, that's what comes out of my mouth. And that's what I heard that night. I'm not going to say I wasn't drinking. I probably was.
Okay. We got
But that being said, I'm not going to pull it back either because I really haven't like gone back to hear what I said. But I remember, and whatever. The bottom line is I give you credit for not just saying, fuck that guy. I never want to deal with him again.
No. We're all entitled to our opinion. I think some of the stuff I even do on albums, I'll be like, this is great. Other ones, I'm like, I would have done differently. So I'm glad, to be able to work with you and do some interviews with you.
Absolutely.
And hang on, George. Write the shit. Here's for which one don't you? All right, you guys are gonna help me pick out the neck.
All right, let's do that.
Neck with bird's eye roasted maple. Okay, so we got. I don't know if you can see this. Oh God, look at all these guitar necks.
Oh, yeah, we'll put you full screen. There you go. There you are.
Oh. All right, George is probably like, what is going on if he logs on? So we're gonna pick the next. Here's what I'm gonna do. Hey, bro, I'm doing an online interview. Can I hit you up in what, like an hour or something?
Yeah.
Hour. Watch, I'm gonna take a picture for him. Wait, can you put?
Yeah, there. Oh, wrong one.
So I'm gonna
There we
send
go.
this to George. We'll say hi, George. Watch.
All right, here we go.
Watch this. Bro, I'm literally online. We love you, George. We're gonna send him this.
Nice.
And then put a smile face. I'm so sorry. Like literally,
Oh,
him
it's
and
all
I
No, dude, I think it's cool.
been on tour and all
Right
that.
on.
And he was building me. We're doing 4 models specific for me. What happened was I do music video production also for Frontiers Records.
Sure.
The video Crack the Sky for the End Machine. I was the production assistant. I'm in the video. I'm the dead guy on the ground. I blow out my hair now. And I'm the cult member at the end that gets Jesse Snyder.
Oh,
Snyder's
nice.
son in the you can see my tattoo.
Right.
In the video. So during the set, he was showing me this guitar. So I'm like, dude, what is this? He's like, I made these. I'm like, no way. So I'm gonna be working with him, playing they're called Mr. Scary guitars.
Yeah, from the dojo.
Yes, and they're phenomenal. Like in the Leaving It All Behind video, he did the Eddie Van Halen blend,
Sure.
and I fell in love with the Crack the Sky guitar. So we're doing something kind of similar,
Okay.
and then we're doing some other models for me. And I'm proud to be playing guitars made by my favorite guitar player of all time.
There you
So,
go.
loved it. Great guy.
I just want to say I'm a huge Faith Edge fan. I love every song that you have out. And, yeah, so I think it's just awesome. I don't know what the hell he was talking about.
I just think here's what I think it is, honestly. Sometimes when you hear a new artist, your ear's not used to it. Like, the first time you drink green tea and your body's like, what is this? I think there's a tendency, George, pick between these ones. It's just like pick one. Roasted or non-roasted? Roasted. I like roasted. Sorry, guys. I think maybe sometimes you're like, whoa, what is this? This is different or whatever. I obviously don't suck that bad because I'm working with.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, my voice has its own sound. I mean, the thing I do like about it is it's me. I'm not trying to rip anybody off. I just kind of have my own sound. And some people like it. I read a review the other day on Sweet and Lynch where they just wouldn't even review the album because they hate Michael's voice. They hate Michael's voice. And I'm like, what? How can you hate Michael's voice? He's like my favorite singer. Some people hate him. Some people hate Mark Slaughter. Some people, so some people can hate me. If everybody loves me, I got a problem. Then I know you guys are bullshitting.
See, I'll tell you this. One time I interviewed Geddy Lee from Rush, and
that's a great example.
I told him, I was like, dude, man, did anybody ever say you sound like a chick? And he got really pissed. And rightfully so. But now, as time gone on, I have appreciated his voice a little bit better. I think sometimes you hear stuff and it just is that way, man. It's an acquired taste at times, and sometimes you grow into it.
I'm not a Rush fan. I don't like his voice. That's me. Or there's a lot of newer guys, I won't say their name, that are, because some of them are on the label I write songs for, but I'm not a fan. To me, it sounds like we already had Ronnie James Dio. We already had David Coverdale. And there's a pattern of new guys like me that are a little bit younger that are coming in that sound just like, it's like, dude, it's already been done. Like people love them. They're like, oh, this guy's, and I'm like, dude, I'll just go listen to Dio. I'm being a jerk. See, Chris got me going.
See, there we go. That's not my fault.
Like, I won't say anything bad, but we're all entitled to our opinion. And what it comes down to is how hard are you willing to fight, no matter if people love you or hate you, to play your music and get the balls to get out there and do it, no matter what anybody says about it.
Right. And we won't tell Ronnie Romero or Dino Jalusic what you just said. We won't say that. No way.
Oh, anybody listening? I didn't. Wow. I didn't say that. You said it. Wow, look, you got a good ear.
Well, Ronnie's.
I said that. Not that I agreed. Holy shit!
While you work with Frontiers, I am directly tied. I've had quite a few meetings with Serafino's team, and I have a business with Johnny Gioeli. So I'm well aware of Frontiers. That's why that was an easy pull.
I didn't say. Chris said it.
So. I said it. That's fine. Look, I love both. I love both guys.
I'm working with somebody right now that's one of the new guys. I can't announce who it is yet.
Okay.
Frontiers, I have a thing to not say certain things until
sure.
Mention. He is phenomenal. He's one of the new guys. We're working on a brand new album for next year.
Okay.
He's the top. He's my number one pick of the new guys. He's really good. He's got more. I'm not going to say what he's got going because Chris is going to.
I'll know.
We're going to be like, it's this guy. I'll be like. So, anyways, he's my favorite of the new guys.
Very good, man. Well, dude, let's dig into this, man, because this is both Seth and I. We were talking off the air about how you get into this game, the writing game specifically. And I'll tell you honestly, I have told artists that I know in the past that have had problems on the road, and I'll name them. Janie Lane and Donnie V. Two guys
for sure.
Two guys that intensely talented songwriters, like way more gifted than 99.99 of the people that have written 100 million selling records. But for whatever reason, they, when I would say and I there's 2 interviews with me and Janie on YouTube. You can look them up. Both times I said to Janie, why don't you come off the road and just write for people? You'll make a fortune with, the crazy lyrics that you write. Both times, same answer. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get into that game. So I'm going to ask you, how do people get into the game?
Bro, it's amazing. No matter what I do, Janie Lane follows me. Now, I'm actually my story with Janie is I met him when I was 18 years old. He would play local clubs. It was in like 1998. I was just some kid.
Sure.
And he kind of would call me on the phone and say, hey, bro, keep it going. Like this was when like the hair bands didn't quite come back. It's like right when Poison was getting together.
Right.
So Janie become very close friends.
Okay.
I'd go see his shows. My friends would go see him. He'd let him in. And he became like a little bit of my mentor. He never said, come party with me. I knew there was problems, and I just figured he'd be like Keith Richards and grow old. And I was a kid, but he never once said to me, hey, do this, do that. Let's get fucked up. So years later, so actually Janie Lane kind of opened up the doors, my story.
Okay.
What happened was I had Face Edge. I was doing the 5th album because I had a deal in Japan with Spiritual Beast through Universal, and then Scarlet, which is kind of Frontiers' competition.
Sure.
Through E1, and we did well. I had Tim Gaines from Stryper on bass, Matt Starr from Ace Frehley's Bound drums, and Alex DeRosso from Dokken on lead guitar. And we were doing well, getting some good press, except for your website. And basically, I was going to do a 5th Face Edge. I already had a deal, and I was talking to Del Vecchio because he produced the 3rd one.
Okay.
And talked about maybe moving over to Frontiers if possible. And he said, look, man, you are such a strong songwriter. Why don't you come write with us?
Wow.
Okay. And I said, a lot of people tell me I should do writing also on the side. So I put together 2 songs. The first one came to me, strange enough, Janie Lane. I became Janie Lane's, when he passed away, there was an album called Liberty and Justice.
Right.
I sang on the final song before he passed away. It's called Broken Bones. Okay. Strange enough, Justin, who did Liberty and Justice, passed away too. We were just finishing up an album, him and I. So Janie was the last song. He passed away, and Justin put on Facebook, hey, I'm looking for somebody to help me with the cover. So I actually was responsible for that last song Janie did called Sin, with the roses coming out with the blood. I did that cover at my college that I had a job for. I had the day off. So Janie was right with me the following day he passed away. Wow. I had thought about reaching out to him because I saw him in some of the press, but I had other things going on in my life. And so anyway, so I did that final cover. So Janie, like following day, was involved with me right away. Then I became friends with his wife, Kimberly Nash Lane. Yeah. Her and I had many conversations. It was very hard on her. She told me the full story of what happened that evening. I'm getting emotional. And she carried a lot of guilt. She felt that she could have maybe saved him. And she carried that with her. So fast forward, maybe a year and a half later it was, I'm starting to work on the stuff for Frontiers, and I go online and read an article. It could have been like Metal Sledge. I'm not on there often, but somebody posted she passed away. I was floored. I was like, what? And she had kind of disappeared a little bit. We were wondering what was going on with her. I was devastated. So I picked up my guitar and I wrote it's all down tuned. Anyways, da-na. And I wrote a song within 24 hours called The Pain of Goodbye, which is on Clean Break's debut album with James Durbin, Robert Sweet, Perry Richardson, Mike Flint. Alessandro's like, oh my God. I wrote all the lyrics. And the song, if you listen to it, if you haven't heard it, it's amazing. It should have been the second single. Why it wasn't, I don't know. It's about their story. It's about me meeting them, Janie finding her, and then they're both gone. And now me dealing with them not being here because I would consider them family. So that song, so Janie is kind of responsible for me getting on Frontiers. Then I wrote a second song. I didn't know it was for Clean Break. I just sent the song to Alessandro. And he was blown away by it. So I wrote a second song, and they did tell me James Durbin was going to be on it in between working on the 2 songs. I went into the studio. I was working with somebody, and he would produce some of the demos for me. And I said, I want to write a song in the nature of In God We Trust by Stryper. That beat that Robert Sweet had was one of my favorites as a kid. So I did a song called No Other Heart that was based around the drum beat, not knowing Robert Sweet was going to be the drummer.
Nice.
That's scary. So then they told me, they said, hey, guess who's playing on the album? Robert Sweet. I'm like, whoa. I worked on the Clean Break videos. I'm in the video with them on the plane playing cards for coming home.
Sure.
And that's my daughter, Faith, who's in a bunch of Frontiers videos, as a stewardess. So imagine the craziness of hearing Robert Sweet, out of all the drummers in the world, is going to be playing on your song that you wrote, not knowing he was going to be on it. So Janie kind of set what's going to happen next, which is I met Michael Sweet because we were having. Can I keep talking, or you want me to shut up?
Go. Keep going.
So what happened was Clean Break was not released yet. We were working on videos and we were working on iconic music videos. So my music video work is also a chance for me to network. So Michael Sweet was going to be my responsibility. Enzo at the label, he works through the label and does our videos. Said, you are going to get Michael Sweet and Elisa. He's very Italian. Sorry, Enzo. So I had to clear it up with Michael because me and Tim Gaines did an interview that kind of blew up the Striper thing and the fighting. So I'm like, let's fix this. So the first thing I do is I pick up Michael and Lisa. I apologize. I said, look, Mike, I did the interview with KNAC, which was my interview. And then Tim announces departure from Striper in that interview. And Michael and I hit it off. He's like, no problem. He gave me a hug in LAX. Lisa was there. We became almost like best friends immediately. And then we get in the car, and the first thing he says is, I'm hearing about this Clean Break album. Robert's raving about it. I want to hear it. And I'm thinking, here's my favorite singer. He wants to hear the song. I had my 2 songs done.
Sure.
And I'm like, no. I'm not going to show you. He's like, come on. And Lisa Sweet's going, come on, Gian, come on. So I showed them The Pain of Goodbye and No Other Heart, finished. Right. He was just like, oh my God, we have to work. Like, so Clean Break, those 2 songs got me the deal with Sweet and Lynch, which developed into, since I did good on Sweet and Lynch, I just wrote the new Lynch Mob album. And then Michael's already talked about it. So I guess we can discuss. I can't go over the crazy details, but his new album that's coming out this year, which is a retro flashback era. He's been talking about it a little bit. So I co-write those entire records. So those 2 songs led to then Alessandro saying, look, let's work together more. So it's developing into me working with Alessandro. He's got a more European style, even though I'm European blooded. I grew up here in America. My dad came from Italy. Sure. So this voice, hey dude, what's up? It's from living in Southern California. Sure. So
well, and you know what though? I think it's a great idea for Frontiers or Serafino or whoever's making the final call. You know, it's a great idea to have somebody else because let's be honest, Alessandro is way overexposed. I mean, he's every and I'm going to tell you up front, I love Alessandro. I'm a big fan of him, but a lot of the stuff sounds like Alessandro. And I get every press release, and every press release has his name on it, either playing keys, playing bass, writing songs, doing production. Like, his stamp is so all over pretty much everything that comes out that it is good to have now another tone, another sound added to diversify the mix a little bit. No.
Where's his planet? What planet is Chris from?
I was going to ask, man. He's going at you.
I'm not.
Look, I'll respect to Alessandro because he's getting me in. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Ale is a producer. I'm a writer. Like, I suck at producing. I do think having me in the fold with him, like there's this thing we're doing right now that's amazing. I'm doing it together with him.
Okay.
Big band from back in the day. Alessandro finally said to me, sent me a thing and said, look, I can use you on this and that and this and that. Because he is Italian, but I grew up here. So maybe I grew up in LA during the MTV era. So I have that more like, and I worked with the Dawkins and the Stripers, and I work with Juan Crocier from Rat.
Okay.
So I have that LA edge to what I'm doing, which I think would be great for Frontiers' sound. As you notice on Sweet and Lynch reviews, there hasn't been a lot of talk of this sounds like the stuff you guys have done before. We really crossed into some boundaries on the record that is not typical Frontiers. So bringing me into the fold without going too crazy, I think is a good idea too, and be in a partnership and getting along with everybody, and showing respect. But the thing about similarities is, for example, Sweet and Lynch. I had to put out conceptually in my mind a half Dokken, half Striper, half Lynch Mob, half Michael Sweet solo album, and make them both happy. I achieved it, but it took work. Or Lynch Mob. When I did Lynch Mob, my goal was to get the album as good as the first two albums. I listened to the other two. What did the fans want? Hooks, that classic Lynch Mob sound. And I wrote it. George sent me the album. I wrote it in 2.5 weeks, and I got it pretty close. I think it's the best album they've done since the 92 release with Robert Mason. I think it surpasses all the other ones they've done since.
Okay.
Got a lot of hooks. They're playing a song I did with them called The Sinner live, which is more of a gospel song. But, it was all done. And I hit up George and I said, look, I know you're an atheist. I know you are. But, bro, this song is called The Sinner. I just kept hearing, there's no mercy on my soul because I'm a sinner. I kept hearing it in my head. And I said, look, can I write this song called The Sinner? He's like, it sounds interesting. You should do it. And then I wrote it. Then Gabriel relearned it. They fixed one of the bridges. And then I see him playing on live on Blabbermouth before the album's out. So I love George. He's the boss. But I have respect. And the respect is to get the artist at their peak and bring them into today also. Like, write lyrics that are from my heart, like After All Is Said and Done, or Leaving It All Behind by Sweet and Lynch. That was about me being in a cafe one day and just so much pressure on me, and it finally just came off. Or Miracles about Michael, Sweet, and Lisa from a third person like perspective, and Michael losing his first wife and then meeting her. So it's a lot of work, but I try to keep it in the direction what the fans want. Like Face Edge has its own style, but I want to do my blend with what they already are, not kind of the same thing over and over. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So here comes another Giancarlo album. Oh God. I want it to be more like, hey, you like Desmond Child when he writes with people, it's like, oh, this is going to be good. So I'm hoping whenever you see my name on a record, you'll be like, oh, Gian's involved. This is going to be great. And I'm not taking on too many of the albums. Like I think we're releasing Sweet and Lynch, Lynch Mob, Michael's Thing, another one. So I got 6 or 7 coming up, but that will be in a year's time.
Okay.
So I take time on each one.
All right. So I'm kind of stupid when it comes to this kind of thing. So I'm kind of curious of the inner workings of it. Do you sit down? Do you write the music and the lyrics and then sell the song to the band? How do you get paid for it? I mean, what happens with that?
Okay. So what happens there? For example, Clean Break in the can. Guitars, sang it, boom, sent it to Ollie. He made some tweaks to it. Bam, the Pain of Goodbye's done. No Other Heart's done. And then Robert and them learn it. And, Ollie will make some tweaks like, this should be 2 choruses. Or my voice, like No Other Heart is like, you're the only one. And his voice is like, you're the only one. So to get it right for the artist, me and Ollie kind of compress it. So anyways, that is from the ground up. So I'll get a higher cut in publishing. I work out publishing deals with the artist. Now, Sweet and Lynch is different. I was asked to come in. So I work out a deal with Michael, George, Ale as co-writers, and we do contracts. So, for example, Sweet and Lynch, Michael needed me more for conceptual songwriting, meaning the lyrics. They didn't know what they were going to do with Heart and Sacrifice because George wanted to do the atheist concept versus the Christianity, and Michael was not going to do it.
Right.
So I was brought in to kind of balance the darkness and light. And I told George that today. I said, I heard your interview with Eddie Trunk where you discuss, and it's very provoking what George wants to do. So I kind of took George's concept out of respect for him and out of respect for Michael and balanced it. So you have darkness and light and kind of not going too far, So that's one thing. So Lynch Mob was like, the album is done. Here's all the guitars. Paint a picture over it. And then I painted The Sinner or other songs that they're going to be doing. So I can do whatever you want. If you want me to take a song from the ground up, I can write the whole thing. or if you want to bring me in for lyrics or to help you piece together your parts, if you want me to sing on it and your singer redo it. So I can play anything. I can play bass, guitar, drums, acoustic, 12 string, write stuff, write full records. So there's a lot of intense nature that I can do for your artist. Or if you just want to bring me in to sit back and yell at you, I can do that.
Nice.
This
Because
is the 80s. This is, you know.
I always think about somebody like Taylor Swift, who's like can't be as smart as a box of rocks, and so somebody's going to be writing all that stuff that she's singing about. And how much does that guy get paid to sit there when she's the one on stage, and there's somebody else that's writing all the stuff she's singing? And so, do most bands do that, or how does that work? Is it like more of the local stuff they write their own shit, or is it more of the national stuff? I don't understand how do you get into the writing game like that.
Okay, well, for me, it's better than doing Face Edge because Face Edge, I'm not such an egomaniac where I think I'm a god, okay? So Face Edge was doing fairly well. We were getting a lot of press, mostly from who I was playing with. Like I had the Striper guy and the Ace Frehley guy, and let's check out this band. And that was kind of the attention we got. But Michael Sweet, George Lynch, these guys all have a built-in fan base for how many years since I was a little boy? So it was smarter for me to go with them. Like Clean Break cracked the Billboard top 10 twice. Sweet and Lynch is about to. I saw on Amazon when it came out of how many millions of CDs, we're at number 35. Right. So I'm honest with myself. These albums are going to sell well and much better than what I was doing as a new artist. So I made the decision for now, let's see what happens in the future, to continue to do this because there's already a built-in audience. And when I work out a percentage with whoever it may be, it's better for my life. Sure. But if I see a lot of people kind of scouting for writers, and I think they kind of go, hey, like one of the people I'm working with right now reached out to me. Hey, I heard what you're doing with such and such, and I want to work with you. And I'm like, wow, this is great. Or I get a lot, like, it's really nice. Sometimes I have to say no. I've had to turn down a few things because they have an idea, but they're not signed. So at this point, I've built up a good enough reputation to where I can work with only signed artists. I'll help some people, but if I help you, it's because we're friends or I want to see you, really.
Do you own the song once you write it?
Yes. I'll own. So Sweet and Lynch, I won't get over all the details, but I can play those live or whatever I want. I co-wrote them. Like if you look on iTunes, Ask My Name with theirs. So we work out percentages, and Michael and George are very fair to me and treat me like an equal, and we're in, Nice. And most people, I'm pretty open about how I work. Like, here's how we're going to do it. If not, I can't be involved,
For you, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you write to the project, not just having. Like, I know I've interviewed Alessandro a couple of times, and Alessandro has told me he only writes to the project, which I was stunned by because a guy that has 800 published songs, I would think he would be a song mill, that has hundreds of things written. And when he gets asked to work with somebody, he could go back through and say, well, here's one I didn't use that would fit. Is right. That which side of that are you? Are you strictly for the artist, or do you have other songs that you're just waiting for somebody to pitch it to say, yeah, this could work with you?
It's a good question. Matter of fact, I just wrote a song that I was going to give to somebody else. I had a concept in my mind of this song and I started it, and I ended up using something with Ollie, and I had to tell the other guy I'm got to use it. It's coming out next year on Frontiers. This is a great concept. So I usually start fresh. I believe in terms of songwriting. Like a lot of people ask me, what if somebody tries to steal your stuff? I'm like, well, dude, I'll just write a better song. I don't believe in keeping, I subconsciously keep ideas, and that's as far. Like I got some other songs, but I like starting it fresh. I like getting excited about the project. I like sitting down and say, what do you guys want to do? And then we try to make it the best that they've done, or at least get it to, because I work with a lot of classic artists, to where it needs to be. I don't want the fans to be disappointed. So I don't have a bunch of backup songs. I like starting it fresh. Okay. Like I don't have like a catalog of back songs where Ollie might have that. Because, Ollie, it's different. He works for the for the label. I'm kind of the new guy coming in and helping out. So I'm more like, all right, let's work together. Or I'll tell them, hey, if they want to work with me, I can sit down with them. And I'm here in LA. I can just drive to somebody if they want to work with me.
Sure.
There's a lot of names I can't mention right now that I'm working with that I would love to. But
well, next time you're on,
those you guys will be hearing in the next by Christmas.
Very good. Well, let me ask you this, man, and just because I don't think you answered it when we started this. So obviously, Alessandro wanted to work with you, but
and vice versa.
Correct. But in the biggest picture, you still got to convince Serafino over at Frontiers. And what I don't understand is how does a guy that doesn't have Home Sweet Home or Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone or pick Fly to the Angels, doesn't have a signature song that millions of people know, convince a label head that you can write for his artists?
Wow.
Or is it just he liked something he heard of you?
I just built a reputation with Faith Edge to be a strong songwriter. Okay. And then when like the Ultimate Warrior, the challenge, the challenge came the way of the warrior. You know, when the challenge came to me, I said to myself, if I want to become one of the best in the world, you better start writing like the best in the world. So when something's presented to me, I'm going to make it competitive with your Kip Wingers, with your Desmond Childs, with your Diane Warrens, with Michael Sweet and George Lynch, to the level I know it in my soul when it's like off, like, oh, don't even submit this.
Right.
You know? Sometimes I'm wrong about that. I wrote something on Michael's album that he's raving about that. I was like, really? So I can kind of feel it when the song is where it needs to be. But if you're a new guy, here's what I would recommend. Because a lot of people do ask me that question. Be honest with yourself. Is this as good as your heroes? For example, there's a song on Sweet and Lynch called After All Is Said and Done. We needed a ballad for the record. And Michael's like, George has got this blues ballad. And I didn't step back and go, okay, I'm going to just write this ballad in hair metal. I actually went the extra mile. I said, I don't want to sing about my relationship with my father. But I remember Queensryche had a song called Bridge when I heard the first time. So I said, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper than maybe just retro 80s flashbacks. And that song came out amazing. It's the bonus track. Also, they have a separate version for Japan. But I said to myself, you got to do something that's going to make you stand out a little bit more and go a little bit deeper, because I love the 80s. It's my favorite era as a kid. Sure. There's a lot of shit from it where it's just like, those lyrics are fucking stupid. So I try to step it up a bit. Even like the new Winger album, he wrote some songs like, whoa, he's digging hard, you know? Mm-hmm. And remember when grunge came in and like those bands Warrant put out Dog Eat Dog, Winger put out Pull, etc. And they were actually stepping up their game when the Cinderella Did Still Climbing. Those albums were very strong. Mm-hmm. They kind of got a kick in the ass and said, we need to pull our shit together. I kind of that same way. Like, I really need to pull it together. I'm in my early 40s, so I have a lot of gas left in the tank. I'm younger than most of the guys I work with, which is great for the future. But I have to step it up like those bands had to do. And I think with my songwriting, when you're writing as a writer, look at your favorite artist, try to get it to the same level as them. Sometimes it's just not meant to be. So you can reach out to me and we'll do it. $29.95. No, I recommend you literally dig inside your chest, take everything out and just put it out there and be prepared to be judged and talk crap online.
So what do you do though? I mean, how do you write a song? Do you just sit in your living room and close the door? Do you turn off the lights and just sit there and think? How do you come up with something? I mean, bro, I know I can sit here it takes me 10 minutes to figure out a question I'm going to fucking ask you, much less writing a song. So, that's got to be amazing.
I hate to say it. I went through a lot growing up as a child, very dark times. So it kind of benefits me now. I have a lot of things going on, lyrically. I I've been on my own for a while. I had a lot of things that happened to me in the music business where I quit the business when I was 20 and came back. So there's a lot of great concepts. Honestly, I wrote the last song on Sweet and Lynch. It's called World Full of Lies. I got out of the shower. It wouldn't stop bugging me. And I wrote it in my bath towel. I don't know. It literally, I was like, I won't break. I won't bleed. I'm in my towel. So certain ones I'll write it. I'll remember. Like I remember the cafe where I did Leaving It All Behind. I remember when I wrote the Miracle that day. Michael threw me the idea. Hey, I got this thing called Miracle. I usually go to my hometown where I grew up, which is Torrance.
Okay.
It reminds me of the MTV era. There's a restaurant there that they let me go sit in the back. And they're like, oh, it's Gian again. And I'm like, if I crack Billboard, I'll get you an award. So I go out and do it. Lynch Mob, there's a restaurant in Torrance that I drove to at 3 or 4 in the morning. Sometimes I would wake up and just gun it. And they're open 24 hours. And I would go in there with my headphones and just start writing. But conceptually, you know, my dad was always a very creative person. He does art and T-shirts and all these things. I think it's genetic. I think a lot of this is genetic, like the vocals and ideas and thoughts and visuals. Like when I wrote LA Guns, all those 3 videos, I wrote that. The last video, Diamonds, my daughter. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but that's my daughter. And that story's about me.
I thought it was Tracy Guns' daughter.
No, that's my daughter, Faith. She's also in Get Along with Jesse Snyder playing her dad.
Okay.
Also in Shattered Glass. So I wrote those stories. If you notice, she's going around writing ideas. That story is actually about me writing songs for Frontiers. And Get Along, same thing. I wrote the whole story, and they loved it. And they used she's like the LA Guns girl. Yeah, that's my daughter, Faith. And she's in Black Swan, Generation Mind.
Right.
And, she's in Clean Break and some other stuff. She's getting a lot of gigs.
Right. Well, that's great, man. Dude, I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what I think anyway for writing. And I have the same thing as you do, but I don't write songs. I write books. You know, I got books. Yes. I got books upon books, and I've written 6 books in the last 10 years. You know, I mean, I write. I write a lot of books. I think what it is if you are good at communicating and you're not intimidated by the medium that you do it in. Like I tell pretty good stories, so I can do this. I can tell them in a book. I've got a couple songs that I've written and sang, and I need to send them to you just so you can criticize my horrible voice. But
oh, I will.
I will send them to you. They're on YouTube, but I will send them to you. But I do think that is a big part of the gift, is that if you're good at communicating, then you can do it in any medium. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, you have 6 books. You're kind of putting yourself on the line out there. Mm-hmm. I think that's what really separates, whether that's in songwriting or a book. Honestly, I'll tell you guys the truth. I think Face Edge wasn't breaking through because of some of the outlook of myself. It was doing good, but mentally I was like being safe. I made a decision about 2.5 years ago. I actually saw a therapist. I'm like, I need to talk to somebody about this because I'm having success. What is wrong? And being positive and believing in yourself is huge. Once I kind of took down the walls from the past and ways I grew up that I won't get into, I was able to succeed more. But that takes putting yourself out there more. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, we're talking about Janie. And I remember when Janie was alive, I would read articles, including from his band members or ex-wives or whatever, talking shit on him, calling him bug eyes, or, you know, websites making fun of him. That hurt him, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They all love him, and we love you, Janie, and what a great songwriter. You do take a beating as a lead singer. You have to be open to it. And I think a lot of people are afraid to step over, which I understand it. It's hard. Do you think I like going online and reading an article where they hate me and I'm busting my ass? It hurts. Mm. But you have to take the good from it. I have people that email me, hey, you helped me with my cancer because I would listen to Face Edge.
Sure.
Or among other things I've gotten. So it's hard, man, to put yourself out there. And I made a decision 2 years ago that this is what I have to do. Sweet and Lynch, track 2, where I have to go and what I have to do. That's what it's about. And there won't be any stopping me anytime soon. But I had to make a commitment that I'm going to go through it no matter what anybody says, hates me, wants me dead. I'm going to do this to help others. And I think once you make a decision mentally that you're going to connect with helping others, it makes it easier to take the hits when people don't like you. So with your books, hey, if you touch 10 people, that's better than doing nothing with your life. And people do it on a big scale now. So I'm really happy with it.
Absolutely, man.
Sorry, my whole house died. Like everything around me just went out, and I was like, "What the hell do I do?"
I was like, "He's over this interview already."
Fuck this. Chris offended me too. I'm out.
Did I talk that much?
No, you've been fantastic. What's the rock scene like out in like LA and stuff? Is it still kicking out there, or is it
horrible? Why do you think I'm working with everybody from Europe? If it were up to me, I would get a band together with me singing, go destroy the Sunset Strip, who only you guys do is play covers over and over and over. Okay. So I'm helping like a band of younger guys and stuff like that right now with some songs. They're great cats. That I'll get involved with, but I go down there a lot and it's just the same garbage. So it's horrible, bro. I would have my own band doing it and then do the writing. There's no A&R guys coming. Like I almost got signed with Sony. My story was Sony almost picked me up when I was 20 with John Kalodner's A&R.
Okay.
So they had Portrait Records. They released Great White. They released Rat. It's a band called Union Underground, Mars Electric, and my band Shattered was going to be the other. And it crumbled. So back then, and then I quit the music business. I took my kids and went out of state. I won't get into the reasons why, but during that period, I came back thinking the scene was still intact and illegal downloading. Like the guys I knew that worked at Sony, I'm still friends with them. One is John Weekland. He's on my Facebook. He was one of the hot shots at Columbia. He lives back in Ohio. And the other was a guy named Rod Kukla. He was Kalodner's guy. He's up in San Diego. He works at a label now in Europe. But the point is, they're not coming to the shows, these A&R reps, to see any new artists. So I made a decision to go, okay, well, how do I keep it going? So I reached out to more of the successful European artists, Japan, labels, Frontiers. And, my goal was to come home. I left California and said to myself, if it's meant to be in the cards, it will be meant to be in the cards. And what happened is I heard an album called Starbreaker with Tony Harnell.
Tony Harnell's record, yeah.
That debut album changed my life. I said, wow, he's mixing progressive, hair metal today all together. And I want to work with Frontiers. I got signed with Scarlet first, but it developed into me working with Frontiers. It was just in the cards. But that album the producer was Fabrizio Grossi, who produced the first Face Edge albums and got me signed. So, there's us guys here, but not many. If I knew more writers, I would work with them. So I'm just going to take it and save rock and roll on my own.
Nice.
If y'all don't want to rock, I'm ready.
That's right. Well, and you know what, man? You bring up such a good point. The European market still respects the art. That's why even newer bands like in like the power metal scene are big over there. We'll play 7, 8, 9 o'clock at Wacken Festival. They'll play in front of 100,000 people, but here they'll play in front of 200 people. It's absolutely sad, but I think it's because, like you said, there's no A&R here. A&R here now means going to somebody's Instagram and seeing how many hundreds of thousands of fans they have. And if they have the right number, then they'll make them a deal that is completely against the band and completely for the label. Here, we'll give you 10 grand. That has to cover recording, 4 videos, and
Why does he know all this again?
Dude, I'm entrenched in this stuff. I definitely am involved in the business. But it's sad because the fact that there's no A&R, the fact that there's no development, we've lost, I say this all the time, we've lost so many bands because they didn't get the 4 albums like Journey did to find their footing.
Chance or Queensryche.
Or Chicago, or I'm talking pick the biggest bands in the world. All of them had some kind of mediocre couple of albums. U2. First 2 U2 records didn't really sell. It wasn't until the Sunday Bloody Sunday video that everybody all of a sudden went back and checked out Boy and those records.
Kiss, man.
Kiss, yeah, Kiss had.
Yeah.
I mean,
we gave a shit.
yeah,
And then 4 albums later,
yeah, and I think and I don't know this to be true, but from being in the industry, it's when I saw it firsthand. I think it changed around the time that Linkin Park came around, because Linkin Park exploded fast, super fast. And I think that record went diamond. It sold like 10 million.
Wow.
So then the labels all thought, well, why are we spending all this money and years developing when we can put stuff together that sounds like this? And then if you go all across the different genres, I don't even want to point to only metal, but if you go to boy bands, all of those bands were piecemealed together. Yeah. Based on a look and based on all the, I mean, if you could tell in 1997, if you could tell the difference between Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees, and NSYNC, I would have given you $100 because they all sounded the same, and they all looked the same, and it was the same on all genres. Look at how they piecemealed Hanson together. They just found 3 kids that sounded okay. They had somebody write them a bunch of songs. Boom.
Here's according to Giancarlo Floridia's with the music industry.
Sure.
Okay? I remember being 12 years old in 1992, living in Torrance. I would go into Pizza Hut every week when it was nice. Remember when it was like good? And they had at the back of the Pizza Hut, they would have MTV every week they play it. I remember walking in there and I saw it was like 92, somewhere around there, and they had Firehouse, When I Look Into Your Eyes. It was blowing up, and then all of a sudden Nirvana was on next.
Right.
Whatever. It was something like one of the Firehouse songs, and then Nirvana came on. I remember within a year it was over. Like, if you liked any of the bands, even Motley. If I wore a Motley or a Kiss shirt to school, which I did, fuck grunge. That's one thing you will not get from Giancarlo Floridia, a grunge album. Hallelujah. Here's what I saw as a kid. These guys were making millions of dollars. They were rock stars. They had charisma I'm going to stare at I didn't know what depression was. I was an 80s kid. I was like, let's party. My dad drove a Ferrari. He thought he was a rock star. My mom was wild and crazy. I loved it. And then all of a sudden, I hate myself. I'm like, what is depression? I would ask people. And it was like, I remember we moved out of Torrance in 92. The energy to this horrible city I still hate. Everything shifted in my life, like depression and things I didn't know existed. So I think Nirvana was a start. I don't care if people fuck you if you don't like what I say, because you don't buy my albums anyways if you don't like what I'm doing. Nirvana was the beginning of the end. No more guitar solos. No more being a rock star. No more arena rock shows. It was like staring at the floor. I hated it. I hated grunge. I would wear all these 80s metal shirts to school. That started it, and illegal downloading killed it because, it's like owning a restaurant. We're going to relate it to an Italian restaurant. Say I'm in the back cooking all day, right? I'm
right.
Pasta, and then I bring it out, and people go, thank you, see ya, and they take out. What's going to happen to your business? If everybody,
done.
It's going to go under. That's kind of what happened in the music, where the labels don't have as much money because people they want to either get it for free. I remember with Face Edge, my son's friends are like, oh, we got all your albums. I'm like, oh, cool. We took it from this website. I'm like,
thanks.
Right, thank you.
The industry and the failure, the government doesn't got any time to deal with this bullshit with fucking us. They got wars and fucking whatever to deal with. So us allowing, like, everybody hated Lars at the time. What a dick. What a douchebag. It was right. If they would have up to it, you would have had a new Guns N' Roses. You would have had a new Metallica. You would have had it. When's been the last band like that? Even with Face Edge, if I would have had more money to put behind us, I think we would have broke harder. So I just said, fuck it. The labels are signing all the old school guys because they have guaranteed sales. Michael Sweet's going to sell. George Lynch, a new Lynch Mob, is a guaranteed sale. So I'll just be involved with that. I face reality as a new artist, guys. It's just, I would love to go out in LA and wipe out Sunset Strip and show them who's in charge. But there's just no show those glam guys that you can mohawk your hair and beat you into the ground Italian style. No, it's just there's not that market because they don't have the money. Money revolved and I think motivated the bands to write better songs. Hey, if you're gonna get a check for $1 million, you're gonna write a goddamn good song, right?
Yeah.
Or now it's like, I won't name names, but sometimes I feel when I work with artists, it's kind of like, why am I doing this still? I can just go out and play the old hits and get paid more.
Yeah.
So, but I feel that grunge started the change, and then illegal downloading destroyed it. That's
so-
my opinion. I'm not all knowing, but
Right.
that's Carlos' version of it.
So we got to wrap it up, unfortunately. But I want to ask you, except for Chris, where can people find Faith's Edge music if they want to listen to it? Because Chris obviously is not
He's
going
gonna go back, and he's gonna have a revelation. Hallelujah! He's gonna say Giancarlo's my favorite singer. Just Google Faith's Edge. I mean, the cool thing about the Faith's Edge name was it was the only one.
Right.
I got the name from Queensryche, and my daughter's name is Faith S. Edge. And there's I can't say it now, but there's a band a project I'm working on that's gonna have a similar name coming out that I worked with somebody from the 80s. Anyways, so just Google Faith's Edge. Walmart carries my discography, Amazon, Target has some of the stuff. So I did build something with it.
Cool.
That's awesome. Well, you got to keep in touch with us, and especially me. Maybe not Chris, but I'm a fan.
Oh, Chris and I are fun. You know, shit.
We're
Yeah, I wasn't like planning with a bat to beat him at NAM, get behind him, biting his ear off.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, man. That was
I
awesome.
appreciate
man.
you having me. Let's
Thank
do, Chris and I actually will probably do some more stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Forward to it. And man, I got to be more prepared though, because Chris he's a very, I knew you were very involved and you guys do well, but Chris knows some
He knows his shit.
behind the scenes stuff that I'm like,
I know more than I'm supposed to, man.
you do, dude.
Well, dude,
You know,
a lot of the people that you mentioned, I've worked with professionally. And you don't know this, but I sequenced 2 of Dawkins' records.
You what?
I sequenced them.
Who?
You know, Dawkins.
I
Rocking
don't
with
even know who
Dawkins.
that is. I know who George Lynch is. And
Yeah. Well,
the other dude, I don't know, man.
I know George. I've known George for a bunch of years. If you tell George my name, he'll tell you that he knows me.
Awesome.
I know George. I know Michael Sweet. I know everybody at Frontiers. I've sat in many a meeting with the creative team, and
Don't get me in trouble, bro.
no.
I deal with Alessandro, Serafino, and
Yeah.
Mario, and Elio, all those guys.
They're all
Enzo
great.
with them. The guy Enzo, because thank
Sure.
God I don't speak Italian. My parents. I deal with Ali directly. I know Serafino's on my Facebook. Hi, Serafino. I love you. I see him kind of look at. Anyways, we'll leave it alone. But I don't talk to them. I deal directly with El Vecchio.
That's awesome.
So it
All
makes
right,
it-
man. Well, we will do this again, man, because this is a lot of fun.
Thank you, brother.
You guys have a great one. Thanks for having me on.
Thank
All right,
you,
brother.
man.
Take care, man.
Yeah. Bye.
Peace.
Giancarlo, Floridia. Nice guy, man. Cool.
He's
That was
great.
Good stuff.
Great. That was a good interview.
Yeah, I could sit and talk to him for the rest of the
Yeah.
show, but
I'm going to send him my books and see if he wants to write a song about my damn books.
I'd like to. I want to hear some of the stuff he's writing. I want to hear some of the new shit. So
All right, well, we could do that too.
got to make sure we get some of that. We got Tony Masaccio coming up.
Okay,
It's a non-stop Italian show today.
that's right.